Okay, so this is my presentation on iclickers, which is the EdTech tool I got assigned to evaluate. So first of all, what are iclickers? It's a remote technology that allows you to answer polls, multiple choice questions, and take attendance. Um, Down here you can see the typical multiple choice question an iClicker can answer. Um, as you see, it has five. You can do up to 5 options for a multiple choice question. And over here is what the iClicker remote looks like. So it has A through E to answer for multiple choice questions, and it also has these directional keys, and that's for keying in a short answer question. So there's multiple versions of an iClicker. 2 of them are the iClicker Classic, which doesn't require Wi-Fi. It's solely on Bluetooth, and that's where students are just using the remote and they answer questions, and a Bluetooth receiver, which I'll show you in a minute, picks up the answers and will project them on the professor's computer. There's also the iClicker Reef, which if the instructor allows students to use, then the students can choose to use their cell phones and download the iClicker app, which is called Reef, and they can answer iClicker questions on the app. So how do you use an iClicker? You can go to iclicker.com and download the desktop application. This is what the website looks like. Next, you plug in the iClicker base into the computer, and that's the receiver that receives all the answers from the remotes, and it works like a radio station. So the base is at a certain frequency. When the professor starts to use the iClicker technology, when he or she turns it on their computer, they will get this little notification which will show the base frequency that the iClicker base picks up. And then students will know to set their remotes to this frequency, and they would type in that code. For example, in this picture, it's AA. They would type in AA into their iClicker so that the iClicker is on the right channel and will send the answers to the iClicker base. So next, the professor, when they open the instructor, when they start the iClicker technology, it will look like a floating toolbar on the screen. It's really small, and it looks like this. And when they want to start a poll, then they can click this drop-down arrow, and they can choose whether the answer or the question is going to be multiple choice or short answer. And then once they decide, they can click this green arrow, and that will start the poll. Once the poll is started, the toolbar will expand, and the instructor will be able to view a timer and the number of votes that are received. So the timer shows how long a question has been open, and the number of votes received means how many students have submitted an answer. And so this is really cool because it allows the professor / instructor to decide how long a question can be open for and how long students can answer it. Once they're done answering and the professor ends the poll by clicking the stop button, the instructor can choose to select this button, which is the display results button. And once they click that, it gives immediate feedback. It turns it into a bar graph, so the instructor can see how much of the class answered the different options that they can select on the iClicker. So in this example, it looks like 2 people selected C and 1 person selected A, and it also gives a percentage breakdown of the class, about what percent of the class chose what answer. And this is really cool because it's an immediate feedback, and it lets the professor know, or the instructor, if the class is comprehending the materials that they're teaching, or maybe if they need to review something. So there's advantages and disadvantages that come with the iClicker. Some advantages are it meets a couple ISTE, MITECS standards, including the Empowered Learner and Digital Citizen standards. So it meets the Empowered Learner standard because it gives immediate feedback, and the Digital Citizen standard because when students use this technology, they're practicing safe and positive behavior. Also, one of the biggest advantages of the iClicker is that it gives immediate feedback, and it's also easy to use. Also, the instructor has the control with this technology, and I see that as a benefit because I feel like with other educational technologies, especially ones that are internet related, such as Edpuzzle, like it's really easy for students to open another tab and get distracted. Whereas with the iClicker, it's just a remote, so they can really just answer the questions. Also, like Because the instructor has the control, they can determine how much time is spent answering questions, and it allows them to move the lesson faster or slower. Lastly, the iClicker can take attendance, so the professor can see who's answering a question to determine who's in class or not. Some disadvantages is it doesn't let students be creative. Obviously, it's just a remote control. Students choose their answers. It's also not a tool to use for personalized learning. It's great for getting like large class data, see who's comprehending and who isn't. But other than that, there's really no way to personalize it. Also, short answers take a long time to key in because there's no keyboard, and the price of the remote's pretty expensive. It's $40, and personally, I think with a $40 remote, it could come with a A to Z keyboard for students to actually type in answers quicker. Well, that's the end of my presentation. I hope you learned something.